his enemies, and how his sufferings terminated, as his judge strove eagerly with all his might not to end his life, and what words he left after these things, full of comfort to those needing aid, a great many of his epistles show with truth and accuracy. Chapter 40. The events which happened to Dionysius. I shall quote from the epistle of Dionysius to Germanus an account of what befell the former. Speaking of himself, he writes as follows: "I speak before God, and he knows that I do not lie. I did not flee on my own impulse, nor without divine direction." But even before this, at the very hour when the Decian persecution was commanded, Sabinus sent a frumentarius to search for me, and I remained at home 4 days awaiting his arrival. But he went about examining all places, roads, rivers, and fields, where he thought I might be concealed or on the way. But he was smitten with blindness, and did not find the house, for he did not suppose that, being pursued, I would remain at home. And after the 4th day God commanded me to depart, and made a way for me in a wonderful manner, and I and my attendants and many of the brethren went away together. And that this occurred through the providence of God was made manifest by what followed, in which perhaps we were useful to some. Farther on he relates in this manner what happened to him after his flight. "For about sunset, having been seized with those that were with me, I was taken by the soldiers to Taposiris. But in the providence of God Timothy was not present and was not captured. But coming later, he found the house deserted and guarded by soldiers, and ourselves reduced to slavery." After a little he says, "And what was the manner of his admirable management? For the truth shall be told. One of the country people met Timothy fleeing and disturbed, and inquired the cause of his haste, and he told him the truth. And when the man heard it, he was on his way to a marriage feast, for it was customary to spend the entire night in such gatherings. He entered and announced it to those at the table. And they, as if on a preconcerted signal, arose with one impulse, and rushed out quickly and came and burst in upon us with a shout. Immediately the soldiers who were guarding us fled, and they came to us lying as we were upon the bare couches. But I, God knows, thought at first that they were robbers who had come for spoil and plunder. So I remained upon the bed on which I was, clothed only in a linen garment, and offered them the rest of my clothing which was lying beside me. But they directed me to rise and come away quickly. Then I understood why they were come, and I cried out, beseeching and entreating them to depart and leave us alone. And I requested them, if they desired to benefit me in any way, to anticipate those who were carrying me off, and cut off my head themselves. And when I had cried out in this manner, as my companions and partners in everything know, they raised me by force. But I threw myself on my back on the ground, and they seized me by the hands and feet and dragged me away. And the witnesses of all these occurrences followed, Gaius, Faustus, Peter, and Paul. But they who had seized me carried me out of the village hastily, and placing me on an ass without a saddle, bore me away." Dionysius relates these things respecting himself. End of Book 6, Part 3.